Hey guys, it's Jonathan with Southern Drone Ops. This is my very first podcast, and it's didn't go off the way I wanted it. Had some equipment problem. Isaac was kind enough to work through it with me. We are right in the middle of Hurricane
Helena.
Lena. Yeah, man, there's been so many. Anyway, so they had to quit harvesting, so he was kind enough to come over and talk to me. And I was purposely waiting to get Isaac because Isaac is the actual very first person I ever did any commercial drone work for. And I don't really, probably wasn't the best, but it was some years ago, and it was we always had to learn and grow and stuff like that. And I just saw the importance of it and saw that it was going to grow into so many things, and so I kind of waited and make sure it's recording. It is.
Go.
And I'm gonna have the editor just chop it.
That's fine.
Yeah. But anyway, I wanted to have Isaac on here just because I was like, very first person I did commercial work with, very first person to do podcast with, and Isaac, man, every time I'm around him, I've learned so much from him. Jeff Haigwood, who is a very good friend of Isaac's, referred him to me, and I was like, oh, of course I know the Haigwoods. Everyone knows the Haigwoods, and so I was very excited to call Isaac. I was like, hey, you probably don't remember me. I hope you don't remember me in a bad way, but I hope it's something that we can kind of move forward from. And he didn't remember me at all, which is good. So anyway, they ended up getting set up to do drone spraying. They kind of saw the value in it. Jeff is. It was kind of funny. I did a demo for Jeff. Or I did a demo and Jeff was there, and it was like 15 people, and it was at ProAg, and nobody, like whenever I would say or do something, like the whole room would come and like look at Jeff, and I'm like, am I like in the presence of like a king or something? Like, why does everybody keep looking at Jeff? And come to find out, I asked Jeff, I was like, why did they do that? And he goes, I'm kind of the guinea pig. He's like, every time they do something wrong, or he goes, every time that something happens, they end up, making me do it first. And I said, okay, cool. And so I got Jeff set up. Jeff was happy with it. And then he ended up sending me you and a couple other guys. And, man, I was really excited when I got with you because you like jumped like right in. You're like, man, let's do this. Jeff had built that trailer, and then as soon as I heard you mention you were gonna like expand out on the trailer, I was like, oh, we're gonna see some cool stuff. And if you guys see, when you hear me say my favorite trailer, it's the Haigwood trailer because they have like the internals of it are pristine. The externals of it are just like what you like. If you could like sit down with like a magazine and like pick off like every single perfect components you want in a drone trailer, it's that one. Like from the generators to the tools to the ramps to the anything you want, the hose reels, everything. And so I put a video out not too long ago about it, and I mean it's just perfect. And they did some modifications to it, and because the Haigwoods are they're known in the area for their big farm family, and so they actually have wives and so many people involved in it. And it's to me I love it because to me I don't ever call I use clients very sparingly because usually it's farm families because we're in the area I'm in. It's farm families because you don't just have the farmer that goes and does his job. You've got the wife that's supporting doing this, you've got the kids that are doing this, you've got the cousins, you've got the nephews, you've got the everybody. And then Isaac is part of, to me, I think probably one of the biggest and most potent families as far as farming goes, because they're not just doing acreage and row crops. They're doing like irrigation and things like that. And so when I got to hear that I was working with Isaac, I was like, oh, that's who I want to hear. So they ended up getting like a Mavic 3 multispectral, an M30T, like a T50. So Isaac does a lot with irrigation too. Isaac's also taught some in the past, and he's been like when I was doing research for this, I kind of found where he was like an expert consultant in a few things, and one of them was irrigation. And so I was like, man, I'm really going to get to learn a lot. And so that's, y'all know my background. My dad and granddad were crop dusters, and that's just putting stuff out. That's not getting deep down into the science of it, into the soil, to the molecular level of it. That's where someone like Isaac gets into, because one, he went to school for it, and then two, he's in it every day. And then I rode along with his cousin Derek the other day on a combine when they were harvesting, riding second seat, and just learning about how they've learned from, y'all are third generation, and and then there's going to be a fourth coming up, and one of them, then he can explain family dynamic if he wants to, but for them, they're getting to learn from their generation previous to them, and then that generation from previous to them. And so I think that they've been so successful. I mean, that's not the reason. The reason is the hard work. But outside of that, they've taken the hard work plus the history of what they have learned from their predecessors to make it as best as possible. They are phenomenal stewards of the environment. I spoke with Derek in length about why they burn fields and why they do that. I commented on some Facebook posts. I try not to get in social media because I know that it can get a little sludgy and people don't want to listen. But Derek really broke it down on a level where I was like, I didn't even know that, some of that stuff. That was really good. Anyway, so you'll see some more of that coming. So I'm just super excited about Isaac. Oh man, thanks for coming.
I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm glad I caught it when it was raining.
Yeah, it's perfect timing.
Yeah, and I know this fall y'all watch here. Probably in a few weeks, a month or so, we're going to do a thing where we're going to kind of try to get all our trailers together, do like a barbecue thing, do like a farmer thing. Anybody's on the fence at looking at drones or something like that, you guys come out, look at it, and we'll have drones and every kind you can see, and then you can actually talk to farmers that have used them and said, hey, these actually work. And in the words of well, I'm not going to say his name. He may not want me to say that, but in his words, it saves you a shitload of money. And it was funny when he said that, because the generator was running and I couldn't really hear it. And I was like, I thought he said a technical term. I was like, a what load of money? And he goes, a shitload. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm with you now. So anyway, but man, I was like, thanks for coming on, man.
I appreciate
it.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. So what got, obviously, if I say what got you into farming, it's not like you're like, well, I just grew up just thinking, man, I want to just play in dirt. Obviously, family.
Yeah, so, family farm. Started a long time ago, and my grandpa and his brothers moved down from like the Hoxie, Alicia area, Walnut Ridge. They farmed up in there a while. And
what year was that?
That would have been in the 60s.
Okay.
All right, and they moved down, and they started farming there on the White River, close to Black River, and new kind of territory, and that come with its own set of challenges, farming on the river all the time.
Yeah,
it really does.
That's one thing in agriculture, and people get acclimated to it. Location. That's just not real estate. That's farming. We're in the ridge.
Yeah.
One part of the ridge is going to have clay soil. Another part of the ridge is going to have completely different types. Where they're near at the White River. I mean, there's just in this little delta area, it's amazing how many different soil types we have here. How many do you think we would have?
It's diverse. I don't know the exact number, but we go from an extreme sandy type soil to the heaviest blue gumbo that there is. In across 2 counties, and we have a mix of all in between.
And blue gumbo is like a style of or a name of a soil.
Yeah, probably like a southern name. That's what we call it.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
That's what everybody would know it as around here.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's one thing I will say. I've opened up in so many different states, like the Carolinas, Georgia, Virginia, stuff like that. Like we call totes. they call them bags up north
Oh,
or bags
really?
out east.
Yeah,
And so I'm like, we can use some totes. And they're like, what are those? I'm like, they're like, we call those bags. And I'm like, oh,
that's different.
yeah. So I've never heard it called that. So anyway, but yeah, so that's really,
But yeah, they moved down, and then my dad and his two brothers started farming in the '80s. All right, they came
so
up,
there's
and
three, your dad and two others. So there's
yes,
three.
it's
Okay.
Dennis, Malcolm, and Stan.
Dennis, Malcolm, and Stan. Okay.
And they farmed together. And Dennis actually went with a family friend, and they went to Mississippi, and that's where Derek was born.
Okay.
And they started for a few years in Mississippi, and then came back, and then they all got together in the '80s and started farming together, and went on, and um, they worked hard their whole life to get all of us to where we're at today.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go without recognizing that. It's just
Yeah.
hard work all the time.
And there's how many collectively do you think there is of Haigwood in that area? Like as far as like, there's the three brothers, and then each brother has,
Yes.
so many kids, or like
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like I
Well,
mean,
Dennis has Derek and Drew, and that's my partners that I farm with
okay,
on our farm, DID Farms.
okay,
All right, and then my dad has me and my sister, and she actually teaches over here at Valley View.
yeah,
See,
yeah,
and so she moved over here, and she teaches over here.
cool,
And her oldest son, Ryder, is the one that's been out. My nephew.
yeah. I'm ready to see, yeah.
And
I'm doing that apprenticeship, so he needs to come with. Well, I say that he don't need to come with me; he needs to be with you.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get much better education with you than me. So,
But yeah, that's who that is. And then my uncle, Stan, has two kids, Seth and Aaron.
right,
And Seth went on and he was working with the airlines for a while, doing different things. Farming wasn't his taste. He comes back and runs a buggy some and helps when he can.
right,
And Erin's thinking about farming. She's just been through college and trying to decide what she wants to do. She may or may not.
yeah.
But it's another generation. It's a lot different than even when I started.
Yeah.
At 8 years old, me and Derek did.
So was that when you
And-
knew you wanted to get into it? Was 8?
No. Well, we had to then.
Oh, you didn't have a choice.
We was working.
That was that generation. We didn't have
It
a choice.
was.
In the 40s, we're in our 40s. We didn't really have
Yes.
choice. It was like you're doing this.
We did. And we wanted to play baseball and stuff, and we got up past what we call Babe Ruth back then. I know it's a lot different now.
Yeah,
And they're like, y'all are thinking about playing high school ball, and like, you're sure gonna miss a lot of work. It'd probably be better if you just come on to work.
yeah,
And we didn't ask a question. It's like it is today. And
Yeah.
sports was a priority over working and family and going. And that's what we did.
yeah. See, I definitely think back then there wasn't an option to be like, well, Dad, I want to do this. Well, the generation is probably a little different. It's like, no, it's like, well, that's cool. You want to do that, but you're gonna be here at 4:00. So.
And I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, not
thankful
at all.
for it.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for it. It's
Yeah.
helped me a lot. But no, growing on up, I thought I wanted to do some crop consulting or scouting or something, different things.
And you do more. You do irrigation too, and other stuff too.
Yeah, we do. Well, that's the thing about farming. You have to be diverse in like almost every area of life. You have to in economics, in business, in grain handling, in spraying, in irrigation,
Right.
harvest. You got to be a mechanic, electrician. You have to be a carpenter.
Right.
You have to wear so many hats in the farming world, and it helps. I mean, farmers, I'll be honest, not us, but I'm just saying some farmers in general are some of the smartest people I know.
Oh yeah.
Just
completely.
because of what they have to endure and go
It's
through.
redneck engineering.
It
Yeah,
is.
I did. And
Redneck engineering, and you have to multi-million-dollar, you have to manage that much money
Right.
and year to year, and
Right.
it's a lot.
And that's one thing. Like when I have two types of clients: commercials and farmers, and I treat them a little bit different, especially when it comes to trailers. Because when it comes to trailers, I know my commercial guys, they don't have anything. They don't have the pumps or flows or none of that knowledge. But when I talk to a farmer, I go, you probably have 90% of what you need on your farm.
Yes.
It's like you've probably got this pump and this plumbing, you've got this generator, you've got this, trailer.
Yes.
And that's just from being a part of the job.
Yeah.
So that's what I always like, when I work with farmers is like, oh man, I've already got a head start. They've already got their ag down because I have I really like when I sit with you. I don't consider myself to have ag knowledge, but then around someone that's new to ag, I'm like, okay, I have ag knowledge.
Yeah.
But then when I'm around people like you or Derek or Malcolm or something, I'm like, I don't have any ag knowledge. Y'all tell me what we're gonna do here. And so if it gets like electrical or drone or something like that, it's like, okay, I'll step in. We'll do this here. But other past that, I'm like, hey, why are we doing this? And it's like I text Derek this morning, ask him about Valor, putting that out, and I was like, man, what did you tell me y'all put out? I forgot about that, and it was Valor. And but yeah, so it's just and that's like you're saying, there's levels to it. There are so many, and to be really successful at it, you've got to have that ability to be able to really. There's multiple factors. You have to have the want, and you have to have the ability to adapt and have all those different hats.
You say that the ability to adapt is big, and right now where we're at on our farm, our dads are getting older. They're wanting to back up. It's different times than when we were growing up, and you have to farm different ways than we did, and we're having to adapt to that and change and go forth. And
do you see like a certain point, like your dad and uncles, they were farming for a certain way for so many years, and then maybe a certain like early 90s, late 90s, something changed, and then you had to start adapting, and then now it's to the point where you're at now, or like what do you think about that?
My grandpa thought my youngest uncle Stanley was probably crazy because he wanted to do no-till for the first time.
Right.
My grandpa did not like that. He didn't like the auto steer at first.
Right.
All the technology, and he struggled with that. But my dad and uncles have been very good to adapt and move on with that. They really have. They've accepted that and adapted, and they still have their challenges with it too.
Yeah. Do you want to explain what auto steer is for the crowd?
Yeah, for just the tractors driving themselves. I mean,
pretty much is and that's the light panel or.
Well, it started out, you had the light bar out front, and you had to drive and follow it instead of the marker that was on the...
Yeah, used to there'd be this light bar, and you would just have to stay within this light bar. And now it kind of has got GPS and the GNSS and
it's
all that
RTK like your drones are, and I mean, it's sub 1 inch accuracy, and
which is really
very good.
That's really good. That saves a lot. Yeah. And then like crop dusting, we used to flag. I can remember flagging forever.
Yes.
That was back, we would get flagging is when, so the crop dusters would know with their swath width where they were hitting the right areas. They would have people stand in the fields with these huge flags, and we would stand there and then fly over and suck in those chemicals and shimmy over to the next spot and do it all over again. And it's lucky we all don't, did you ever flag or have
all
to
the time?
Yeah.
Everybody's stride was different, so we had to mark it off, and then you count your steps and they count theirs, or you would be even on each end of the field.
Exactly. Yeah. Run into each other. And then it's lucky we all don't glow green. Our kids don't have 6 toes and 6 foot. Fingers and stuff like that. So I'm glad that's changed. And then that kind of leads into the drones a little bit too, to where, now that's, evolved to where now that's something that's safer. That puts it more in y'all's hands, and that lets y'all do things a lot better. Is it to the point to where it's ready to replace planes yet? No. But is it a great adjunct? Can it do a lot of great things? Yes. So, but before we jump that far, auto steer, when was that? Like what year ish? Do you remember?
When we got it was in 2006, maybe
6. Okay.
This one, it was out before that a little bit. Okay. We didn't adopt it. We had we had some old equipment, and
I
holding
remember.
markers and stuff for a long time. Other people had it before us.
I almost said 2005. I want to say it because you're the expert there, but you and I both know someone that used to drive a Hummer that they adopted it in 2005.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so I almost said that, but I was like, I
No,
don't want
that's
to do
it.
that. Yeah,
That's it.
so I knew we were in there. So yeah, I knew that was about that time, and so man, and I just think. There's a point. There's a thing called like singularity, and singularity is a point to where like as soon as something comes out, the replacement's already there.
It is.
And it's like I wonder like in agriculture if we're ever going to hit that point or if we're ever going to plateau off again? Like, do you think like we're just in the last few years, have you seen like as far as like nutrients or stuff that we're putting on the crops, are you seeing that kind of level out a little bit, or are you seeing constantly new stuff?
We're seeing that. I mean, that it's up and down on that. You'll see some new trends and some new things, and we've tried different fertilize methods and different ways to do. And we put out a lot of chicken litter.
Okay.
We put 1 ton per acre on every acre that we have every year.
Darn. What part of the growing cycle does that go on? Like as soon as you plant, does that go on there? Or
We do it as soon as we harvest.
as soon as you harvest?
It's
Okay,
coming.
okay.
He's falling as soon as we harvest, and we put that on there.
Oh, so as soon as you harvest, they're right
It's on
behind
there.
them.
Mhm,
Okay, I
mhm.
got you. Okay.
But there it is. It goes up and down, and to drop in with the drones and what we're doing with the M3M and the 30T, what that's doing is letting us unlock another level that we can't see previously.
Right.
Even, I mean, crop scouts are great, but they can't see everything either that this technology that's coming can.
Right.
Technology is going to keep growing in the agriculture business. I mean, we're on the edge of AI. It's here.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
And some of the software we use now, like Solvi, it uses AI to count.
yeah,
I showed you that weed count map.
yes,
And see, with agronomists, the thing is, even if it was just the agronomist doing it, they still have to collect that data, process it, give it to you, and then let you make the decision of what y'all
yes,
are going to do. And if they've got, 30, 40 clients, there's no way they can keep up and make it. So there is a happy medium to where they can still do it because, not everybody's going to adopt that
no,
technology.
no, no. It's not for everybody.
Right. And it's
It's
going to
not.
be, people like you are going to adopt it. And so that's where I tell people, they're like, aren't you afraid it's going to replace jobs, this, and this? I'm like, well, first of all, I don't think we have a surplus in agriculture of jobs. I don't think we've got people just lined up out the door waiting for jobs. And two, I think that's going to just give the farmer more of and the grower more of a chance to do more with their farm than they wanted. I think, to me, I think it gives you more of a chance to experiment, to kind of say, let me do this on this plot and this on this plot. And then next year, I'll know different. We'll look at yield maps and stuff like that. And it kind of puts it more so in your hands and control. And maybe there's some co-ops or extensions that may not like that. But for me, it's like I'm on the side of the grower.
Yeah,
It's like
that's how it's got to
it's
be.
like I'm on the farm family side. I
Yeah,
mean, that's where we got to be, because I mean, ultimately, it's your farm, it's your land, it's your data, it's your stuff. It's where it needs to stay.
yeah. I'm not a political person, but I mean, you have to be. I mean, you always have to be a political person to some extent.
Oh yeah,
The way our economy is right now, especially in the agricultural world, if we can unlock that next 1% over our whole farm, just say 1%, just using the drones with the technology to find stuff we're missing is huge.
right.
It's make or break sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that big of a deal.
Well, that, and it's like even with the weed map, some of those herbicides, they are so expensive.
They
I
are.
think there was that one I did up in Pig, and I think it was like 6.8 acres, and instead of spraying the whole 6.8 acres, and I forget how much it was like 17 ounces. Oh gosh, I wish I could remember what it was. But anyway, it was instead of spraying the full almost 7 acres, they sprayed like 1.6, and it was a few $100s in savings, and I was just like, that's a pretty good amount.
Yes.
I mean, that's still a pretty good amount.
Before I met you, the U of A came to us, and we did some testing. It was an M3M, and we were doing with the technologies that we have today in the seed. We had planted soybeans behind corn,
Right.
and some of the corn came up, and it's the same technology that you can spray on the beans and the corn with the chemicals.
Right.
And so you have what's called corn escapes, and you got little stalks of corn scattered out all over your bean field,
Gotcha.
and that's taking up nutrients, and it's ugly, and everything else. It's taking up water when you irrigate.
Right.
And so
It's keeping good crop from
yes.
growing in its place. Yeah.
And so they flew the M3M over and built an algorithm and sent it to my dad's sprayer, and it's the John Deere sprayer, and every individual nozzle shuts on and off.
Right.
And we ran through, and it just sprayed the corn escapes.
Yeah.
And that's huge on savings instead of having to do a blanket application over the whole field.
When was that?
That was in 19, I think.
Okay. All right.
I think it was.
Yeah. So that's about right. John Deere's got they got the See and Spray now, and the software now is and that's kind of the hurdle is, and that's where I've kind of tried to come in because my goals and aspirations were not this. It was like, man, I want like a couple spray teams. I think irrigation is going to be something that's going to be really big with y'all too, to be able to use the irrigation part of it. Um, I think I don't know how much this winter. Do you think you'll be able to do much this winter with it? Like as far as like doing scans for your fields or
So what we could do this winter would be to get even better flow through our poly pipe on row irrigation.
right?
To take the M3M and fly your poly pipe lines where they're going to be and get your elevations, and then input that into pipe planner, and it will output where you need something under the pipe, how many hole sizes.
What does pipe planner take? Is that like an XML or a KMZ, or do you know offhand?
I don't know offhand.
Okay.
What it takes.
I'm sure it'll transfer over.
It will. It will. It'll transfer over, and it's that's a great tool that you can use.
Pipe planner. Gotcha. Yeah. Right. Yeah, the M3M, and that's to me the biggest piece that because I think anybody can buy a drone and start spraying, especially illegally, which is what a lot of people they're buying them and spraying them. And hey guys, good luck. You want to deal with the FAA and start at $10,000 fines? Y'all go right ahead.
Yeah.
But doing it this way, setting your business up this way, and doing that, I think it's just gonna just remove so much room for growth. And I just and the thing is the FAA just made it so easy. They used to take 11 to 18 months to get approved, and because if they're like, hey, this is really helping farmers, they changed it and gave them their own UAS office, and it's like now you can get just 6 to 12 weeks.
Yes.
That's like crazy good for what you can do. I've got one farmer, JD Farmer, he said that like it's like $2.38 an acre, I think, to spray with a drone. And that's just a spray, and then you can spread. And then when it rains like this the next day, instead of having to wait for it to dry out, you can get out and spray as long as you get to field row. And so I think that's a big thing that I think would be helpful with it. But I think that's one of the other innovations. Have you seen anything? Because you and I both know the only way to really make any more is either increase yield or produce the same yield and use less money. And so I think this is a way to produce more yield and use less money. But yeah, so we both know the only two ways to really make more money is to either increase your yield or use less money making the same yield.
Yes.
And I think this is a way to same yield, use less money. Is there any other options you can think of that you've seen lately? Because we got the Mid-South Gen Show coming up in I think they're doing like March 1st this year. It's later this year. Which to me is late. I mean, I'm like, we're 4 weeks out from plant from then. So, I mean, people are already going to have their equipment and their gear. And because I think I was signing up for that today, and I was just like,
it is late.
I was like, I don't know if I'm going to by that time, people are already going to have their stuff. So I'm trying to think, how am I going to get in everybody's heads before then because in case you didn't know, it doesn't, you can't just buy a drone and then you know even if you don't want any training and you feel comfortable good, you just can't buy a drone and just put it in the air, put chemicals, start going. You've got to get your plant board licenses, you got to get your in number or your tail number for your drone. You've got to get your commercial drone pilot license, you got to get all this stuff. And then it's kind of like drinking from a fire hydrant. So like when I first met up with Isaac and Jeff and everyone, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to piece this out at a time because it's a lot, and then we're gonna go through phases. And there's still some things I still haven't put in front of you yet. Just because if I laid it all out in front of you, you'd go, I think I want a refund. I don't think I
Yeah.
want it because there's a lot to it. But I think in the end there's just so much, and then once it's done, you're done. Like there's the maintenance on it is not much at
Yes.
all. I mean, it's just keeping up with what the FAA comes out with and what you got to do, and so
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was a little intimidated after we got going a little bit at first,
yeah,
but I had a lot of advantages though. On the spray side, I've been spraying
oh
for
yeah,
20 years or
yeah,
more, on that part. So that part didn't scare me at all.
yeah,
And the technology side, that's what I do on our farm a lot, is kind of our tech guy, and that didn't scare me. But the FAA did a little bit, but I had my dad, and he's got his private pilot license, and
yeah,
the terminologies that was coming up, I was like, oh, I know this.
yeah,
Dad's talked about it his whole life, and
yeah,
so that was a big help for me in that part of it too.
yeah. That'll be good.
Um,
And once you're set up, I mean, it's so easy for you to check off other people in your family and farm to where it's like everyone. It's like, hey, I need someone on a drone today. You got six people that you've got certified that you're like, sorry, you're up. You
yeah,
just kind of roll through it. I think that's going to be cool for you because you'll be able to be like, all right, I got you trained and certified for a reason. And it's like, and you won't need me for that. You'll do it yourself, and you'll be able to be like, all right, you go grab a
yeah,
trailer, and then they got a really really nice trailer to where it's got to me, which is my favorite, which is a an electronic jack. And so I'm like, anybody can put that on any vehicle and get out in the field and do stuff. And the way you got y'all set up, I mean, you don't need to be able to carry much weight to set that up.
yeah.
So
And you've said a few times about our trailer and the way it's set up, and that is not just because we're smart or anything. That's because of so many years of doing the wrong thing, finding out what works the best. Because on the farm, it's time.
right,
That's what you're working against more than it's just time.
right,
And the more efficient you can be with your time with less,
right,
you're just that much ahead. And if I want to go spray with it by myself, it's set up where I can.
right,
But if you have people to help, that's great too.
yeah,
So that's why it's set up the way that it is, just because we've sprayed forever. And
it's perfect. I didn't. I know Jeff. I talked to him the other day. Said he's still working on his. But one thing is funny. Jeff said to me initially, it insulted me a little bit. But he goes, the reason I got you and got your consulting is like because I go for your mistakes. And I was just like, my mistakes. He goes, well, yeah. He goes because I'm not going to make the mistakes you made because you're going to make sure I'm not going to make them. And I was like, oh, I get your point now. I got it.
yeah,
Okay. I
yeah,
was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's like, it's like you've been through someone that's been out in the field that's gotten scorched because I've went down in the middle of the field and carried a 35-pound battery out in rice that's up to your knee to put a battery back in a drone to get it back up in the air to get it back over to the area that
yeah,
we can
yeah,
get to. And it's like, now I know how to make that not happen. And now it's like some of the safety things, and I'm a little stickler about some things because I'm just like, listen, I know how bad this can go, and I know this one little thing will save you 45 minutes if we just do it.
Well, on that very topic, I mean, I did the same thing to Jeff. I went and looked at his trailer and talked to him, and he's like, I should have done this. I need to do this. And
Mm-hmm.
before I even started at all,
Yeah,
before we did one thing, I went at 5 times and looked at it and talked
right,
to him,
right.
and got a
Yeah.
start in my mind before we ever got
Right.
going.
And that's one thing. There's companies out there mass producing these trailers and that's where I have reservations about that. And I really like the idea of you offering us all getting our trailers together, because I've got that Pineapple Express.
Yes.
I've got a simple, really simple setup. I've got a truck setup. I've got probably 2 or 3 iterations I want to bring out. They've got theirs, just so we can all kind of see things, because each thing's different and each area is different. You just can't sell one trailer to the whole country and it work.
Nope.
It's got to be set up for your operation. And I get that there's new guys coming into this and they're commercial. They want to get involved. They want to help, because in my mind, serving agriculture is noble. We're stewards of the environment. We're not trying to put out chemicals. We're not trying to poison people. We're not trying to, there's that thing to where we're putting GMO. We're not trying to put chemicals and. We're trying to put out the best. We're trying to feed people.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep people alive. We're at its core, doctors and nurses keep people alive, and farmers keep people alive by keeping people fed. And so that's, to me, at its core, is what I see it as. And so when I think of it, I'm like, we've got to tailor that to that. So with the new commercial guys coming in, that's why I ask them so many questions. I'm like, where are you at? What are you doing? What are we doing here? And then we can kind of change that trailer around a little bit to get things here and there, to make it perfect. Because I was talking to a guy this morning. Was it this morning? Yeah, it was this morning. He was out in Montana, and he's, they're hills.
Yes.
And his trailer setup, I was listening to, I was like, that's a different trailer setup than I'm used to. And it's just because this is different, and he's got relays, because we're wide open. You could look in any direction and see, as far as you want to see.
Yeah.
But with him, you look in any direction and you might see, maybe half a mile, there's just mountains everywhere. And so, having that ability to change it, or being able to tailor the trailer to that, I think is really important. That's why I'm kind of against the mass produced trailer, especially if you're not a farmer, because farmers, I know you guys can come in and change it any way you want it. You shouldn't have to. And that's why most farmers, I don't sell a lot of trailers to, because you guys have 90% of what you need.
Oh yeah.
And I think that you guys know what y'all need and set it up for y'all. So I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna focus on this other stuff. You get this trailer going. It's like you with all the wiring and all the electrical. Which your wiring looks great. That's you've got the best wiring of anybody I've seen yet. Plus that generator. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what you're all going to do with that. But yeah, that's going to be good to see all of us out there with all the trailers and everybody look at it. And we'll invite, whichever farmers are on the fence about it, and be like, hey, look and see.
Great.
This is what'll work. This is what won't work. This is what, so anyway, I know we've got the rain, whatever now. How many acres do y'all have left to harvest?
We've got about 300 acres of rice left.
Okay.
About 300 of corn, 800 of beans, and 1,000 of cotton.
Okay. So yeah, you guys have 2,200. Okay. Wow. Yeah. That's how long do you think it's going to take y'all to do that?
It won't take long. The cotton is what will take the longest.
Yeah.
We have just one cotton picker, but the others will go by really fast once it dries out.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think Derek said y'all were doing cotton next week, so it's not bad. Did y'all do anything? Did y'all put anything on it before this rain?
We did. We did put some, not everything, because we didn't want to get boll rot, but we knocked some of the leaves off, and then we'll spray some boll opener after this rain.
Gotcha.
Because it looks like pretty weather for a while.
Right. What do you think? I was watching, or I was, doing on a reading. What about on desiccates? What's your thoughts on desiccates? Because I was desiccates on soybeans, because they were looking at just the size and the cleanliness and stuff of them.
Yeah.
Where do y'all sit on desiccates? Like, what do you think from a scientific standpoint? Do you think there's always, it's, and the reason I ask that is because there's a balance, is because usually that's if there's rain coming and it's like, okay, are we going to lose crop and it's going to go bad? And
well, that's where we're at exactly now. And and you have some mold issues. You have some discoloring issues if you get a lot of rain and the right humidities and temperatures all at the same time.
Right.
You can even get sprouting inside the pod, and that's going on, and you lose quality. You get a lower grade when you haul it off to the granary,
Yeah, and
and
you
you
have to
can
sell
lose a lot of money.
salvage. Yeah, you have to sell salvage. And the reason I say this because there's an article, and it's so misleading, and that is the biggest reason I'm making this exact podcast is because the agriculture news is no different than CNBC or any other news outlet agencies because there's an article and I'm probably going to share it. I got it on Indeed, and it was like desiccants. It was saying, this is the look of desiccants. This type of, I think it's like 7A. Does that sound? I can't remember which type of desiccant, but it's like this type of desiccant and this type of desiccant and no desiccant. And the no desiccant one was beautiful and it was great and it was awesome looking and it was, stuff like that. And it looked better than the one that had the most desiccant. But when it comes down to it, if you had the option of, okay, yes, of course, I would love to have perfect, ideal harvesting conditions at all times and have no desiccants put on it at all. Yeah, of course, I want to do that. And of course, that's what every farmer does. But then you've got times like we've got a hurricane. You've got to put something on there to be able to harvest and save that crop before it's because if you don't save enough of it, you have to sell to harvest. You lose so much of it, the farm can go under. So it's stressful for the farmers and the growers because they have to figure out, okay, is this going to hit me? Am I going to have to put a desiccant? Am I going to have to? Do I wait? Do I ride it out and see? Yeah. So there's so many things. Rice lays down with rain, and there's other things we can do. So there's just so many misleading articles out there that that's what I really want to do with this is just dispel those articles because it's like you read that article and you go, well, why would anybody ever use desiccants? That's just the worst thing ever. And it's like there's a reason. Mm-hmm. It's like if we don't, there's going to be a food shortage and the prices are going to go up and then people are going to complain and then it's going to be harder to farm and then it's going to be the higher interest rate on farmers and food's going to go up and then people are going to complain about cost of living and then it's just going to be farm bill and then it just cascades to so many things. And it's all from, people see a simple article. It's like, well, why would they use desiccants? Yeah. Farmers are just out to just make money and just harvest it as fast as they can and get all this money out. And it's like, no, it's a delicate balancing act. And it's like, you have to trust, and to me, I've been in healthcare, I've been in different industries. And to me, I mean, the integrity, and that's why I say farm families is because the integrity to me has been the most in agriculture. It's been, to me, if I've ever needed something or something's been down or something's been going on, it's like, the farm families and the farm community is there. I mean, and I feel bad for the parts of the country that don't have farm families.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't think, out, west, like really, really west, Midwest, yeah, but further west than that, and then really northeast, I don't think you have close-knit farm communities, and I really feel for those communities.
Yeah, I do too. And we're talking on this, on spraying the crops like that. We quit doing that on our rice because of milling yields and quality and things like that. And on your soybeans, what we're finding out is it's a lot to do with your variety. Some accept it better than others. Some varieties of soybeans, without doing it, you can't hardly cut them for a long time, and the stalks stay green for forever, and it really helps you. And then there's other varieties that they're real affected by it, and it's some of those that we're seeing now. We have some good quality looking beans that have been sprayed, and others right beside it through the same weather conditions, and they don't look good. So there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
We're starting to figure out the different varieties that can handle it and that can't, and the different weather conditions, and it's just something each farmer's got to decide for themselves on their own farm.
It's trial and error.
It is trial and error
with every single crop with every single, with chemical or whatever you're
We're
putting on it.
we're big testers on that. Uh, the universities and all the people who do research do a great job. But they do small plots on their soil in their area. We'll do a half of a field with a variety, a soybean, and another half, and we'll maybe spray the one half of the half and not the other, and the same on the other, and see for ourselves. And we do that a lot on our own farm because you get a bigger sample of what's going to work for you.
Do you think they were doing that back like when your dad was like that? They weren't.
Not as much.
Okay, not as much.
And that goes on a lot more now, and we've done that for a long time, for many years, and worked with those research companies and tried to talk them into doing the bigger plots. And they're doing that with us now. The seed companies, the chemical companies, and
Right.
the universities, and they're on board to help the farmer to do that too.
Right.
And so that is improving in that area as well.
Yeah. Do you see the drone coming in any type of area in that?
I do. You want to maximize your yield. You don't drive a ground sprayer through there, and you're going to knock some beans out. Let's just say if you're doing spraying a bean plot,
Right.
that you're going to do a test in. And I mean, we already did that. I hadn't had the drone not very long now at all, and that's the first thing that we did. That's why we did that first 40 that we did, was to not get a ground rig in there because it was a test.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So, and we just did that yesterday before the rain.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I know there's that, and then like I think there was a wart. Go ahead.
Well, and that was a dual thing that you mentioned earlier. It had been raining with the last time, and the ground was wet. We couldn't get a ground rig in.
Right.
So it was dual purpose that we used the drone for that day.
Yeah. That's what's it's hard to make people pull the trigger on it, but in comparison, a $30,000 drone versus ground sprayers are what 110 ish, or I'm not sure price wise, and then tractors and planes and then you've got all that stuff, but then you've got drones at the very very bottom at 30,000. So
yeah, people are like 500,000.
that big. I think if you're a farm, sorry, I'm thinking of like
I mean, they're like big sprayers. Yeah. If you're going in comparison, and I don't even know how much airplanes are, like 802s.
I was thinking
in the millions.
I was thinking of a Mudmaster.
The Mudmasters are high now.
Yeah, Mudmasters are like 110.
Yes.
And then tractors, 600 or so.
Yeah.
And I know crop 802s or crop dusters. They're 800 to 1.2.
I know they were close to that million. Yeah.
Depending on what they are going to be, and then the maintenance on them.
Yeah. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for anybody, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I would rather sit on the John Deere sprayer in the air conditioner with a big tank.
Mm-hmm.
But it has its purpose.
Right.
The drone, just this year, the reason that we really jumped in, the planes would not spray a few of our fields, rice fields, because it was clear field rice beside beans and conventional rice.
Right.
They would not do it. The ground conditions in the spring were so wet, we could not. It was gumbo ground, and we could not get a ground rig in there to spray it. And on top of that, row rice is getting big now, where you irrigate it, furrow irrigate it like you do soybeans or corn.
Right.
And when it's damp and you run over your pipe with the ground rig, you have to go back everywhere that sprayer runs and shovel those beds up and make sure it runs down the rows right. And that's that much more physical labor, where that's the reason that we went with the drones. Is the ground rigs can't, sometimes the planes won't spray fields. And then with all this row rice, you got a lot of extra physical labor if you have to spray it with it damp in a ground rig. The drones that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to focus on with the drone. It's another tool that we have to use.
Yeah.
That'll be beneficial and cost effective.
Yeah, I think that's going to be huge. Taking that labor part out of it, because, that's definitely not replacing a job. That's really just not having to have you guys do another job.
Yes,
it's not like it's replacing it. It's like okay, instead of 6 jobs, I've only got 5 now.
Yes, you can be better at your other jobs that you're doing instead of having to stop and do that.
Right.
Yeah. It's more efficient. on
Yeah,
time.
yeah, that's what you try to show people, and I think like you said, you are so progressive just because you're already feel good with tech, you feel good with spraying, it's more so of the FAA and the regs and all the other stuff like that, and then it's hard for the farmers that they're not tech savvy at all, and they're not, of course, they're spray, most can spray, but it's not being tech savvy at all, and it's just a big scary part of it. And so Jeff, that was one thing he was talking about. He was like, he's like, I love having you. He's like, because he goes, I can. Someone asks me about it, and he's like, I can just say, hey, call Jonathan.
Yes.
Let him do it. He'll answer your question. You
You
don't have
gave us
all
the
that.
steps by step, and
Yeah.
I mean, and go in order, and uh, with you talking about that, it made me think about my uncle Dennis, and when I got my first combine, that was my own. I mean, we had worked on them, I'd run the other ones, but I got my own finally,
Yeah.
and we bought it used, and it was wore out. And that winter, the next winter in January, we came in after the new year, and I was dreading it because my combine was up first, and we completely rebuilt the combine. And I had never done a complete rebuild. I'm talking all the guts. You could literally walk through the front and right out the back through the middle of it.
So,
And we tore it down, and I was
how
intimidated
long
by
did that
that.
take you?
It took us 2 weeks, and but I was intimidated by that. And he said, do that just like you were going to eat an elephant. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, one bite at a time. And
Yeah.
I've thought about this during the drone process. It's not bad, just one bite at a time. And before you know it,
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah, and I've tried to set. That's how I've tried to set it up. It's just that it's like we do this, and then we do this, and then we do this, and then we do this, and we do this, and then that way it's set up, and then at the very end, once we get there, I'm gonna have a list of things for you. I'm like, all right, here's how we maintain, and here's how you do this, and then you'll have something to always pull back up, and then you'll just usually maybe do like a calendar thing or something and be able to always know when you go back and
Yes.
do things. So that's the biggest part of it because, in my opinion, I think every single farm is going to have a drone. Every single farm is going to have. I think just for efficiency, for money, for everything, I think everyone needs at least one on there. Now we can swarm and do all those
Mm-hmm.
things, and we could start catching up and doing that stuff. I think as technology, of course, as we know, as technology increases, in 10 years, we listen to this podcast, you're going to have drones that are going to be able to hold, right now they can hold 120 pounds. In 10 years, they're probably going to be able to hold 1,500 pounds.
Yes.
I don't know. It's you'll be able to have that and fly, 10 of them at a time.
Yeah.
There's no telling. So I just think getting it where it needs to be now, getting your farm ready, getting it set up, and then just you have that every 2-year renewal. Man,
Hey,
you're just set to go.
And I've seen this with many different things in the past too. And the earlier you get in,
Mm-hmm.
like you might be grandfathered into some things that you don't have to do that was required later on. And
Mm-hmm.
in the beginnings of it, sometimes it's actually easier. People don't think that, but
Mm-hmm.
and that's another reason. We went ahead and jumped on it too.
Right. Yeah. That's where I have a little concern with they were tight on it because it was kind of a gray area, 11, 18 months, and then lax to and they've already changed it once because used to you could just file your paperwork, and while that was cooking, we would do like your 107, we do
Mm-hmm.
your plant board licenses, we do your in number. Now they've already changed it, and that was like May 29th, I think, of this year. They've already changed it. They said, okay, now you have to have your 107 and file your in number before you can even file for your exemptions,
Yes.
which is going to take 4 to 6 weeks and stuff like that. And your in number itself is going to take 4 to 6 weeks or so. So because used to I can remember there was a few clients I had them from start to finish in 6 weeks. I mean, they were boom ready to go, and they were on board, and they were ready, and they were eager, and I was teaching, and I was on the farm with them, and everything and going. And so that's where they've already changed it a little bit. And like you said, now my concern is they're going to start pulling back a little bit, pulling back, and they're going to start saying, okay, now you have to do this, and now you have to do this, and now you have to do this. And I'm just kind of like, if you're wanting to do it, you better jump.
You better do it.
You better jump. People talk, they're like, it's like, oh, well, I'll wait till the next model or this and stuff like that. I'm like, you can save money now. Save money now and do money now.
Yes.
And shoot, I've got an MG1P, which is from 2019. It still works. It still sprays. It holds 1.8 gallons. But it ain't do. I mean, it don't do much.
Yeah,
But I mean,
yeah.
it still works. It still does it. So, but yeah, just getting people to kind of jump over and pull the trigger. I've got a group Lancasters, and it's a father and son.
Yeah.
And the son, he's picking stuff up on it. I'm getting him going. He's perfect age. I think he's mid-20s. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, you're perfect, dude.
Yeah, this
You're,
generation coming up, this is for them.
Dude, they are going to be so. I think your generation. I don't know. I think. I think with everything, I guess nowadays it keeps getting easier because probably in the 50s and 60s that farming was probably golly, and then 60s, 70s easier, 80s, 90s easier. Your generation was tough, and now you're going to be able to look at the next generation and you're going to be able to go, well, in my generation, when I did that, you're going to be able to tell them it's like,
I'm already able to do that.
Oh yeah. And it's just like, but at least now maybe you'll still benefit. I mean, you still have 20 years to benefit from drone and everything else that's coming. And I don't know. I kind of think maybe it might get you to retire a little bit quicker too.
Yeah, hopefully. Something.
Yeah. Get all the other the fourth gen guys to come up as quick as they can.
Yeah.
Like, all right. It's already about easier. Let me go ahead and start residing to where I can start fishing and doing my stuff a heck of a lot more.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, that'll be good to see. Because I think that's where it's heading. I was at a conference and I can't remember who said it, but someone said something along the lines of, "We're witnessing with drones the same advancement as going from like horse-drawn farm equipment to like tractor-drawn farm equipment, and you're adding drones in, and that's just going to add just a whole another layer of it." And I'm just like, I didn't think about it that way, but yeah, that's kind of something there, and as quick as the technology is now, because the drones we're using now compared to what I started on, gosh, night and day different.
Yes.
Because the joke used to be was, oh, you can spray a farm with a drone or a garden with a drone, but you can't spray a farm. And I was like, and there was some truth to that.
Oh yeah.
But now it's kind of like, well, I've got 3 T50s, and they can at ultra low volume rates, we can boogie, we can get some stuff done,
get something covered.
We can divide and conquer, and and if you've only got a ground rig, I can do some things, and I can get in places you planes could never even dream of. I can't think of that land that Jeff had. I made a video about it. But I don't know if you saw it, but it's right near the White River. Did you see it? It's like you pull into okay. If you're going to your shop, and when it bees off to the right, if you keep going straight, right there on the left hand side of that land, you pull in, and it's like there's I think power lines, and then telephone lines, and then tree line, and then it's just got the most beautiful land. Yeah. And I'm just like, and I know the yield is ridiculous there, but what are you going to spray it with? Because it's sunken. And I'm just like, how are you going to spray it? And so, and Jeff was like, he's like, this was pretty much the land that I got this for. I think there's land like that is just going to be perfect for drones.
Yeah, I do too.
And I think there's been land this year that has never been sprayed by air. It's been sprayed by drones.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see it there. But yeah, I think the rain's finally starting to let up on us out there.
I hope
so. What's it? So you said y'all are doing cotton next week. What are y'all gonna have to do? Like, what do y'all have left the rest of the year drone wise? Like, what do y'all think?
We'll probably put out a little bit more paraquat on some soybeans that are very late. They still have green leaves on them now.
Oh,
and
gosh.
to go ahead after the rains, we'll probably do a little bit of that work.
Right.
And I don't know, we may spray put out, like we talked about, some pre-emerge for next year.
Mm-hmm.
You can go ahead and put out our Valor and some stuff for the fall.
Right.
We do that. We do quite a bit of acres like that, and
Right.
you can see a big difference in the springtime when everything's coming back out, and it helps hold it back and
Right.
just gives you that much more time to get there.
Yeah, and that's where I was telling you, I was like, everyone's already starting to, they're catching on. They're doing bundles and looking at that stuff, and so those guys that are, I really hope they're not wanting to do pre-emerge because I'm like, we're already back ordered a little bit. You guys need to, you know, uh, get your ducks in a row, and that's why I hate the Gin Show is the March 1st this year. I
Yeah,
think it's
that's
the
like
28th and the 1st this year, and I was just like, because I was looking at booth space this year, and I was just like, today, I was like, darn, that's late. I was like, that's gonna be, I mean, man, I'm gonna be not available from March, which I'll have you ready fully by then, but I'll be not available from March to freaking June.
yeah, you're
Getting
gonna be
everybody
busy.
set up,
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, that's why I'm pushing everybody now. It's like, all right, let's get those paperwork rolling, let's get everything going and stuff like that.
yeah,
So
and you told me up front. And I mean, we were good with that, and
yeah,
we even had delays with our trailer and generators and things,
mhm,
and we shot for the middle of August to spray the first, and it
right,
was the middle of September.
yeah,
And we started in June
yeah.
is when we started.
Yeah, and that's why I try to be so upfront with people, and that's part of what I fight in my industry is one, you got guys that do tail light warranties, they drop the drones off, they're like, okay,
Yeah,
hope you figure it out, and that just burns me alive, just because I'm like, man, that's like, you got to help people out. You got, this stuff's hard, and it's if you don't do it right, you can get in trouble for it, and that's just wrong, and then just putting people out saying, it's like, all right, this is a realistic timeline. This is what we're shooting for. Because, when people are like, all right, I'm ready. I'm like, I want to be spraying, in 2 weeks. I'm like,
yeah.
mm-mm.
The sales isn't the big part of it. It's the service and the support.
Yeah.
That is the big part
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. Well, it's like when the person that crashed the drone, they called me and they sent me pictures. I was like, bring it to me. I'll give you one of my drones and
Yeah.
go out and finish your job, man. I'll take care of you. So, that's the biggest thing is just being able to offer, making sure you're covered and taken care of, just because, I don't know, man, you grow up in ag and, we all take care of each other.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing.
That's
It's
how it
just,
should
I've been expanding out and going to, other states and stuff like that, and I'm trying to push that onto other areas. It's going good in some, others it's not
Yeah,
going so well.
I've seen that with my dads and them, and we're experiencing it right now. And with the farmers around us, everybody's willing to help each other.
Yeah,
I mean, we just recently, we had a farmer beside us that had soybeans that were rotten, that just like you were talking about, and they needed another soybean header. And they took one of ours, and with that last hurricane, we had a cornfield blow down. We didn't have a reel on our corn head to pick up down corn, and they did, and we just swapped.
yeah,
That kind of community within,
yeah,
just we're not like, we want them to succeed
right,
as we want us to succeed, and the neighbors on the other side, and
yeah.
does everybody work together to do that?
Yeah, one thing I was thinking of is after we do this thing, with the whole barbecue and the trailer and stuff like that, man, I was thinking about like next year, man. Of course, I have illusions of grandeur sometimes, but I'm like, man, we ought to do like a farm family fest, almost
Yeah,
like
yeah,
like you've got Pumpkin Hollow and you got all those other
yeah,
things. I'm like, man, it's like farm family fest, man. Because I mean, I just think there's so much in this community that is. Well, I think in this community, you're either agriculture or you're medical or manufacturing. I think
hmm
that's like the three in this area. And I just think that to me, I think even though they say 1% of the country feeds the other 99%, I don't think in this area. I think in this area, it's a much, much higher
it
number.
is.
And I just think that, that's just something that, farm families are just something that, are so involved, and people think of farmers, in one way of, hopefully in a good light of good stewards and trying to help them bring food, but they also need to think of the support
Yeah.
staff and the people they have working for them and their family members and their kids and all the other stuff that's a part of it. Because I mean, it's like you guys just aren't out here doing it for fun. You guys are out doing it because you want to take care of your
Yeah.
family and take care of the environment.
Hmm.
So I think that's a big thing that I'm trying to get out with this too. We've got the farm bill coming up, and you got any opinion on the farm bill or anything on it?
I don't. I'll be honest. That's not my forte.
Yeah, me neither.
I leave that to those wiser than me on that.
That's going to be the next person, which is going to be Jeff Rutledge. He's going to be in here
Yes.
next. And so Jeff is going to come in and give us a completely different take. I wanted Isaac in today just because, to me, farm family wise, I think Isaac is in the strongest farm family. I had not met Derek until I rode second seat with him, and he just Derek has done a lot of great things. He's been like on soybean,
All the soybean boards.
all the
Yes.
soybean boards, and he was telling me about some story where he had to do some trade negotiation
He's
stuff.
been to China and everywhere.
Yeah, China, that's it. And so he was telling about all this stuff that he was doing, and I was just like, I had no idea. So it's just really interesting to see just one family having such a big impact on agriculture. I don't know if that sound was. I don't know. Stop. See what. No, that's fine. Anyway, I have cut it out. But anyway, but to me, it was just having, to me, such a one family that has such a massive impact on agriculture, and they're, to me, being the best stewards to the environment because they're trying different things and they're doing what they're supposed to do to maximize yield and deliver the best food possible to feed people. The farm bill, in case people don't know, that's not that's not like money that's going to farmers to be like, hey, here, drive around in new trucks and do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
That feeds programs like WIC. That feeds that. I mean, that feeds so many different programs and school lunches and stuff like that. And one thing that I was in medicine and I practiced in peds, and there were kids that one of the biggest things that broke my heart was schools would close, and there would be and you think of like, oh, schools are out for snow and stuff like
Yes.
that, and which I think they fixed this, they send that home now.
They do.
But yeah, I mean, used to, it's like that'd be the only time they would eat was in
Yes.
school.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Most of the women in our family are in the education system
Yeah.
there in the school, and I've seen that my whole life, and it is sad.
And you don't think about that until you're just like, because you're just like, oh, they're out of school, they'll be out playing in the snow. Well, no,
They might
not
not
if their
eat.
cabinets are bare.
Yeah.
I mean, and they probably don't, if their cabinets are bare, they don't have snow gear, and so that's something that's hard to think about. But that's what the food bill does. That food bill gets that stuff to where now I know for a fact a lot of times if they know they're going to go to school, they'll go ahead and send
Send it
stuff
with them.
home.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And I think that's
great.
so awesome. I think that is so great. And so that's why I throw so much support behind agriculture and so much support behind the farm bill. And Jeff will be our next one in that will be able to really dive deep in and tell us that. And Derek agreed to be on here too.
Yeah.
So Derek will be great to. I'm going to have to probably work with you to get some questions for Derek because I don't know. I met him that one time, so I don't know
We
the
can
best.
do that.
Yeah,
That's easy.
I don't know the best ones to get him to really open up and just bring all his stuff out because, like with you've already got all your. Your background and your knowledge and everything that you've already bringing to the table and the family, and you're the one that's spearheading this entire endeavor that's being brought to your farm. So that's easy to talk about, but when it's like new people that I'm like, I rode one time with you for a couple hours. You know,
Well, he's a lot sharper than me, so there'll be a lot y'all can discuss for sure.
Oh, wow. We'll see. But no, he did great. He explained the burning the fields to it, and that was really good. Like I was even listening to some of it because we went to leave and I didn't have it on the live. I was like, hey, I handed him my phone. I was like, will you record why fields have to be burned to people just think it's farmers being whichever, and then he broke it down on a level. I was like, wow. Okay, that makes I get that. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I get that. So, but anyway, so that would be something that we'll have coming up, and but I can't think of anything else for us to talk about. Man, you have any funny stories or any wild off the wall stuff happened this year that you just you know, I'm trying to think drone wise. I've had one guy. I've had people, tons of just crazy crashes. I've had farmer
I crashed
wise.
this year for the first time, and
What'd you crash?
I crashed two combines together.
What?
Our own two combines at John Deere.
Oh,
Sure did.
how
I
much was
sure
that bill?
did. The insurance covered it. It was
Oh,
pretty
okay.
good, but it was rough still. But
Oh,
yeah, I guess the older we get, the depth perception isn't there, and
oh no.
we had them all parked lined up at John Deere, and they do
Yeah.
like a winter special, and they go through them and
Yeah.
check them out and do that. And I was getting one to take to the shop so that we could work on one of our headers, and
Yeah.
and I was watching is what was bad, and I pulled out and turned, and I got the auger into the cab of our other one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one was on me. So
Oh man, you can't. Oh man.
I started the year off good with that.
Golly. Yeah, I can't think of much else. Oh man, I'm trying to think of because there's I've got my content creator. I try to bring them around with me to see some cool fun stuff that we do. Because there's stuff that we do, but it's never when I've got my guy with me. It's always something
Yeah.
off the wall, and so that's why I think if we go out to your range area, I think that'll be a cool little thing to see. Trying to think of. Yeah, I saw I know you saw that H2A visa thing.
Yes.
That got a pretty good amount of things
Yes.
with it. That's it's just, and I know one that's just been a hard year for a lot of
It
people.
has. It has.
The moisture has been really bad on growers, and so it's kind of hard to be not doom and gloom. And
It is. The whole economics of the farming, I mean, all the way around is pretty tough on everybody this year. It really is, but
Right.
that's what farming, you have to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can't look at it from year to year. You have to average it out over the years.
Yeah.
And it's a good lifestyle. It's not the easiest, but it is a good lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, it's to me. To me, it's rewarding.
It
It's
is.
like I was medical for so long, and you just kind of go home because you're fighting a system. You're just fighting a system that you're just not gonna. Everyone's a number. Everyone's a
Yeah.
this. Everyone's a that, and it's just not.
Yeah.
It's not going to be something. It's not going to be what you think it is. And so I got to the level I got to, and I kind of leveled off. I was just kind of like, man, I don't know that I'm going to be able to. I'm going to be able to make a difference. Like I really felt like I couldn't make a difference. It was just like a cattle call. It was like
Yeah.
see as many patients as you can, and if you miss some that have something that are sick, sorry. And so I think that at least now this is something you can go home in and know that you kind of made a difference.
Yeah.
And so to me, so far, agriculture has been the most rewarding because it's helping people implement this stuff in and doing some of the projects I do, like done like kudzu projects and DoD projects and stuff like that, to where I have them come in and we're spraying and seeing and doing things, and I'm like, man, this is stuff we've never done. This is cool
Yes,
stuff.
it
So,
is.
and
And a lot more to come, I'm sure.
yeah, a lot more to come. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, I can't wait to see that part. But man, I appreciate you coming to see me. I know
I
the
appreciate
rain's
you
let up
having me.
now, so I will get with Jeff next, and then I'm going to get with Derek. I know he said next week he's doing Cotton, so I don't know if when I can squeeze him in, but I'm gonna try to get these out bi-weekly, maybe weekly. We'll see. Like I said, I wanted Isaac just because I think so much of him, and he is really him and Jeff have jumped in, and I love you, Jeff, but Isaac's jumped in a little bit more than you have. But Jeff, it's because you have so many irons in the fire that
He does.
what's funny, I'll tell you what's funny about Jeff. That's a funny story I have. I didn't know who Jeff Rutledge was. I'd never seen him, but I've been in the community enough to know that when I go to sign-in sheets, I see names because I always try to remember names. That's just something I can remember, and I would always see Jeff Rutledge's name on all these things, and I think they called him like Mister Trustee or Mr. Boardman or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And I'd seen it. So when I did that demo at ProAg, it was room of 15 people. I swear, when I would say or do something like it was just, kind of like, is that real? You kind of see people who just kind of look at Jeff, and Jeff's kind of back there. Jeff's a big tall guy. He was just kind of back like this, and I didn't realize who I was, talking to. And then so when I met him, I was like, it's like, I know you. I've seen your name
Yeah.
on so many
He's been
things.
everywhere.
Oh, he's everywhere. Yeah, I was like, I know who you are. Or I know your name and your backstory. I've just never I never put a name to a face because I never had seen you.
Mhm.
But so then Jeff did it, and then now it's like he sent me you and two other guys, and Jeff's kind of like, he's like, I don't want people calling me. He's like, I got enough to do. So but yeah, he's forever working on that trailer, and I wish I could come help him. I know he had generator issue too, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
ended up giving him a Predator too.
Yeah.
I was like, here, I was like, come get them. I was like, man, you sent me three other people. I owe you. Come get them. But and then I'm gonna have his drum fixed for. I'm trying it for free. I don't think he'll let me do it for free, but anyway, but no, he's been great to me, and so I'm excited to see we've got all these Ross conferences coming up.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
so are you going to go to those?
Some.
I know. Did you go to the ones at the embassy last year?
I didn't.
So I know they've got those like back to back this year. So that's one thing I will say. If you come across any conferences you go to, text me and let me know because that's my biggest problem is finding out stuff to go to because I haven't fully got that cycle or circuit yet.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I've been a couple times. It's been a while, but it would probably be a good one. And it's usually in St. Louis or Kansas City, and it's Expo Ag.
okay, all right. When is it?
I don't remember, but it's a technology. It would probably be a good one
Okay,
for you to go to.
all right. Because like last year I did. I'm doing like the Delta Jubilee this
Mhm.
year. Then I'm doing the what have I got next up? I'm doing the Wings Over the. It's the Wings Over the. Oh shoot, Wings Over the Prairie.
Rings Over the Prairie.
Yeah.
That's it.
Stuttgart. Yeah, doing that one.
Yeah,
My office manager's from Stuttgart. I
that'd
got
be
Wings
good.
Over Delta, and she about cussed me out. She's like, "It's Prairie." I was like, "Oh, sorry." Sorry. So I'm doing that one, and then there's two Rice Festival ones, the back to back. Like one, it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but there's two of them because they rented it out together, and that's in January or 1st of February, and then Mid South or the Gin Show, and then I don't know that I may do any more after that because I'll
Yeah.
be so covered up
Yeah.
with them. So. Um, but yeah, it's exciting to see getting this put out there because to me, um, for me, I've got as far as like who I'm up against as far as selling, it's really just like the big box companies,
Yeah,
the ones that
yeah.
are just selling drones, and it's like that's great and all, but it's like you don't have time to wade through all that paperwork
No.
and wade through all that training and wade through all that other stuff, and it's like I know my consulting fee's not the cheapest thing in the world, but it's like one problem can cost you 2 or 3 days where you can call me and I can give you the answer in 10 minutes or
Yes.
5 minutes or call you back in a few hours and be like, hey, here's your answer.
Paying for knowledge.
Yeah,
Hey, that's worth a lot.
yeah, and that's kind of what Jeff said. Jeff's paying for my screw ups. He's
Yeah.
paying for me, messing up in the field for years. And one thing, before my dad passed away, that was a crop duster. He left so much with me, knowledge and stuff he'd screwed up and stuff he'd done wrong and right, wrong, and all that other stuff. And so I get to bring that to my clients now, and I think that helps out a lot. And so because I want everybody to be successful. The big thing is, like, my boys are getting to be the age to where they can do this.
Yeah.
I want them to be able to follow in this footsteps and do it. And I'm not a farmer, but farmer support, and it's one of those things. It's like, man, I love my farm families.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like, you take care of a farm family, they'll take care of you whenever you need it. And so that's why I'm happy to do what I do, because I know I can help. At this point, the options to save you guys money, to get money in y'all's pocket, to help y'all, is limited. But with this new tech, I think this is one of the few new things that is actually going to work. It's actually going to do it. So I'm excited to be a part of it. So anyway, I've taken up enough of your time.
Appreciate it.
I thank you so much, man.
Good to be here.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much, man. All right, we're good. All right.